I was being forced into a marriage by my biggest business rival, Juliana Thorne. It was the only way to save my family's company, she said. I thought it was just a transaction, a means to an end for both of us. Until I found a folder on her laptop, hundreds of files detailing my downfall, each one named for me. This woman wasn't just trying to win. She was trying to ruin me. But then she'd look at me, and her eyes would burn with an intensity that was terrifying. And God help me, I think I was starting to get hooked. Sign it, Caleb. Juliana Thorne slid a fountain pen into my hand. The cold metal dug into my fingers. The air conditioning in the conference room was glacial, but I could smell the faint, clean scent of her perfume as it cut through the chill. I stared at the stock transfer agreement in front of me. The black ink on the stark white paper spelled it out clearly. If I signed, Royce Innovations would get a lifeline. The price was me. I had to marry her. Juliana, I managed, trying for a smirk that didn't quite land. You know what they say, you can lead a horse to water. I don't need you to drink, she said, her eyes fixed on the contract. She tapped a perfectly manicured nail on the tabletop. I just need you to be thirsty. You have 3 minutes to decide. My next meeting is at 3 sharp. I cursed her under my breath. This was classic Juliana. All business, all the time, acting like she was negotiating a shipment of raw materials, not the rest of my life. Then again, to her, that's probably all this was. A hostile takeover with a wedding ring. My father. Your father already signed. She cut me off, pushing another document across the table. He was quite pleased with the terms. I glanced down and saw my dad's sprawling, arrogant signature. Unbelievable. He sold his own son without a second thought. I gripped the pen, my palms starting to sweat. Sign or don't sign? Sign, and I'm shackled to this viper for the foreseeable future. Don't sign, and what little is left of my family's legacy goes up in smoke by the end of the month. Mr. Royce, she said, leaning in suddenly. Her voice dropped to a low whisper, meant only for me. Don't you want to see just how far I'm willing to push you? And everything you care about. To the edge. She was too close. Her breath ghosted over my ear. My back went rigid. What the hell was that? A threat? Or was she flirting? In all the years I've been battling Juliana Thorne across boardrooms, I'd never been able to figure her out. 1 minute she'd be tearing your business strategy to shreds. The next she'd be smiling and asking if you were free for a drink. A complete psychopath. I took a deep breath, and the nib of the pen touched the paper. Juliana, I said, my voice tight as I signed my name. You'd better not live to regret this. She watched the final stroke of my signature, and a slow smile spread across her face. Regret. She took the agreement back, inspecting my name as if checking for forgery. That word isn't in my vocabulary. Fine. She was tough. To the signing ceremony was a ridiculous media circus. Camera flashes popped incessantly, making my eyes ache. I stood on the stage, Juliana at my side. She was wearing a sleek black dress that was practically shrink-wrapped to her impossibly small waist, a flawless smile plastered on her face. She was a hell of an actress. I played my part, wrapping an arm around her. The fabric of her dress was smooth and cool under my palm. The MC was droning on with some corporate-approved bullshit about a match made in heaven, a new era for American business. I didn't hear a word of it. All I could feel was Juliana's fingers lightly tracing a line down my back. Smile, she murmured, her lips almost brushing my ear. The cameras are on us. I forced a smile. My face felt like it was cracking. This is exhausting, I muttered back. Tell me about it, she whispered, a hint of amusement in her voice. Your palms are sweating all over my dress. This woman, after the ceremony, a waiter brought over glasses of champagne. Juliana took 2, handing one to me. A toast, she asked, one eyebrow arched. I took the glass, but didn't drink. To what? The fact that I just sold my soul. To the fact, she paused, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes, that you're finally mine. That didn't sound right. Before I could process it, she flicked her wrist. The entire glass of champagne went straight into my face. Ice-cold liquid streamed down my hair and into the collar of my shirt. The room went dead silent. Every eye was on us. I was completely stunned. She took a step forward, rising on her toes to get close to my ear. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Now, her voice was a strange, excited whisper, her hot breath on my drenched skin. You're just as much of a mess as I am. My accomplice. I stared at her. Her eyes were shining, like they were lit by a fire from within. In that moment, my heart gave a hard, sudden jolt. It wasn't from anger. It was something else. Something I couldn't name. 3 that night, we went back to the apartment she'd arranged. She called it our home, but it felt like a sterile showroom. Cold, modern, and completely impersonal. I tore off my champagne-soaked jacket and threw it on the couch. I was furious. Juliana walked in behind me, the sharp click of her heels echoing on the polished hardwood floors. "The master bathroom is on the left," she said, gesturing vaguely. "The towels are new." I didn't move. I just watched her. "What was that today? The whole spectacle." "What spectacle?" She shrugged off her own jacket, draping it over a chair, dumping champagne on my head. "Oh, that," she said, turning to face me. "I was just helping you cool off." "Excuse me?" "The way you were looking at me," she said, her voice slow and deliberate. It was a little heated. I almost laughed out of sheer frustration. "Juliana, are you insane?" "Probably," she admitted without missing a beat. "You've known me for years." She walked over to the built-in bar, poured herself a whiskey, and took a sip. "Caleb," she said, swirling the ice in her glass. "Don't play the victim. You didn't get the short end of the stick here. Marrying you isn't the short end of the stick." "Royce Innovations is solvent again, isn't it?" she countered, her gaze cool. "One man's freedom for the survival of his family's legacy. It's a bargain." She was right. I had nothing to say to that. It was a transaction. No refunds, no exchanges. I should have understood that from the start. "Where do I sleep?" I changed the subject. "The master bedroom." She pointed to the largest room. "And you?" "The master bedroom." "What?" She raised an eyebrow. "The agreement states we have to maintain the appearance of a happy couple. Separate rooms doesn't exactly scream marital bliss, does it?" "Juliana," I said through gritted teeth. "Don't push it." "Relax," she said, putting down her glass and walking toward me. "The bed is enormous. I won't touch you." Her scent, that mix of perfume and whiskey, enveloped me. Unless, she traced a finger over my chest, the touch leaving a faint, tingling trail through my shirt. "You beg me to." I grabbed her wrist. "In your dreams." She just smiled and pulled her hand away. "Go take a shower, Caleb. You stink." For we actually slept in the same bed, back to back, with enough space between us for another 2 people. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake. Beside me, I heard the rustle of sheets as she shifted. Her breathing was light, but her presence was overwhelming. My mind was racing. I remembered the first time I saw Juliana Thorne at a competitive bid presentation. She was representing Thorne Industries. I was there for Royce. Back then, Royce Innovations wasn't on the brink of collapse. We could still go head-to-head with her. She sat across from me, dressed in a severe black pantsuit, her hair pulled back so tightly it looked painful. Her opening statement was a kill shot. She methodically dismembered our proposal until it was worthless. Even then I thought, damn, this woman is impressive. And damn, she is a nightmare. We clashed several more times after that, with mixed results. I'll admit, I admired her. Maybe I was even intrigued. But that was it. I never imagined we'd end up tied together like this. "Caleb," her voice cut through the silence, making me jump. "What? Are you asleep?" "I am now." "Oh." A few seconds of silence passed. "Be ready at 9 tomorrow morning. You're coming to the office with me." "Why?" "We have a board meeting. I need to introduce you to the team." "Is that really necessary?" "Absolutely." Her tone became clipped and professional. "From now on, you are my husband. There are appearances we have to maintain." "Husband?" The word sounded alien coming from her lips. "Fine," I said. Silence again. Just when I thought she had finally fallen asleep, she spoke again. "Caleb, what now? Your hand was shaking when you signed the papers today. You're imagining things." "Am I?" I could hear the smile in her voice. "I hope so." I didn't answer. Was my hand shaking? Maybe. Who the hell knew anymore? The next day, I went with her to Thorne Industries. The ride was silent. She was focused on a tablet, her brow furrowed as she scanned reports. She looked different when she was concentrating. I leaned against the window, watching the city blur past. This all felt surreal. Was I really married to Juliana Thorne? The car stopped in front of her skyscraper. She got out, but I stayed put. She turned back. "What are you waiting for?" "Juliana," I asked, What exactly is this arrangement? A business merger, she replied instantly. Mutually beneficial. And then what? There is no. And then, she said, leaning down to look at me through the open door. We play it by ear. Isn't that what you're best at, Mr. Royce? She was right. I built my career on reading the market, on calculating risk and reward. But I had no idea how to play this. She held out her hand. Come on. I looked at her open palm, hesitated for a second, then took it. Her hand was warm and soft. Not all like the cold, hard woman I thought she was. She pulled me out of the car, but didn't let go. We have to sell it, she said, linking her arm through mine and pulling me close. Got it. Yeah. We walked into the lobby, and it felt like 100 pairs of eyes locked onto us. Curious, probing, gleeful eyes. I straightened my back and put on my usual easygoing smile. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. She, on the other hand, was completely in her element, nodding at employees, occasionally stopping to give a quiet instruction. Every inch the queen in her castle. The elevator took us straight to the top-floor conference room. It was already filled with her executive team. The moment we walked in, they all stood up. Ms. Thorne, Mr. Royce. The address was awkward. Juliana waved a hand, signaling for them to sit. Everyone, she said, pulling me to the head of the table. I'd like you to meet Caleb Royce, my husband. Starting today, he will be joining us as a special consultant, involved in some of the group's strategic decisions. The room was utterly silent. I could feel the weight of their complicated stares. Shock, suspicion, contempt. Of course, Juliana added, he's only a consultant. Final authority remains with me. She turned to me and smiled. Right, honey? That honey made my skin crawl. Of course, I smiled back. Whatever you say. Someone in the room started whispering. Juliana tapped the table. Now, let's begin. The meeting was long and tedious. I sat next to Juliana, playing the part of the handsome, supportive husband. A trophy. When she occasionally asked for my input, I'd offer some vague, non-committal opinion. Most of the time, my mind was elsewhere. I was watching her. The way her lips moved when she spoke. The way her eyelashes fluttered when she looked down. The way she unconsciously twisted the wedding band on her ring finger. The ring matched mine. She insisted we wear them. Keep up appearances. God, she was committed to the role. Mr. Royce? Someone said my name. I snapped back to reality. It was a VP from the development division. Regarding the zoning proposal for the East Side property, do you have any thoughts? I glanced at Juliana. She was flipping through a file, seemingly paying no attention. I cleared my throat, that it would be unwise to move aggressively at this stage. The market is too volatile. A more conservative approach would be better. The VP nodded and didn't press further. After the meeting, the room emptied out, leaving just the two of us. She leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. Tired? I asked. Yeah. She closed her eyes. Pretending to be in love is more draining than negotiating a merger. Tell me about it. She opened her eyes and looked at me. What were you staring at earlier? What do you mean? During the meeting, you kept staring at me. You're flattering yourself. Am I? She stood up, walked over, and leaned down next to me. Caleb, your ears are red. I instinctively reached up to touch my ear. It was hot. The room is stuffy, I said. She let out a low laugh, her breath warm against my cheek. Come on, she said, straightening up. Let me show you to your office. I followed her, my eyes fixed on the slender line of her back. This woman didn't miss a thing. The office she gave me was right next to hers. It wasn't huge, but the view was incredible. You'll be working here from now on, she said. If you need anything, just ask my assistant. What exactly am I supposed to be doing? Watching me, she said, half joking, to make sure I don't do anything to hurt Royce Innovations. Would you? What do you think? She shot back. I couldn't answer. She always did that, turning the question back on me. We have a dinner tonight, she said, heading for the door. You're coming with me. What kind of dinner? Meeting with some investors. You showing up as my supportive husband will be. Reassuring for them. So, I'm a prop? A very useful one. She smiled, then closed the door. I was alone in the office. I walked to the window and looked down at the river of traffic below. Just a few months ago, my single-minded goal was to find a way to beat Juliana Thorne. Now I was her husband. The irony was suffocating. My phone buzzed. It was my dad. Son, How are things going with Juliana? They're fine. You be good to her, he said, his voice heavy with meaning. This family is counting on her now. I know. I hung up, feeling even more irritated. Counting on her, right? We were all counting on her, which is why I had to put up with this, even if she was just playing games with me. The dinner was at a private club in Midtown, the kind of place that reeked of old money and secrets. The guests were all heavy hitters in the finance world. The moment Juliana and I walked in together, the expressions on their faces were a masterclass in polite shock. Caleb, Juliana, congratulations. You two make such a handsome couple. When's the wedding? You have to invite us. The fake pleasantries were endless. I nursed a glass of bourbon, my patience wearing thin. Juliana, however, navigated the room like a shark, smiling at the right moments, clinking glasses, her charm weaponized. Caleb, a balding middle-aged man I recognized as Mr. Lerner, sidled up to me. Let me buy you a drink. We'll have to work together more in the future. I clinked my glass against his and took a sip. Of course, Lerner. I hear Royce has a new project in the pipeline, he lowered his voice. Any interest in a partnership? He glanced over at Juliana. She was in another conversation, but her eyes flickered in our direction. We could talk about projects later, I said evasively. Right. Lerner chuckled. You're a different man now, Caleb. Got to put Thorn Industries first. The comment stung. I didn't respond. Halfway through dinner, Juliana stepped out to take a call. Lerner immediately slid back over. Caleb, I don't know if I should be saying this. Then don't. He flinched, but pressed on anyway. That woman, Juliana Thorn, she's not what she seems. You need to watch your back. I put down my glass. Lerner, you're drunk. I'm trying to help you, he insisted, his voice a conspiratorial whisper. Every guy she's dated has ended up ruined. One of them, she nearly drove him to jump off a building. Is that so? I'm serious, ask around. That woman, he leaned in closer, is sick, possessive as hell. Anyone who gets close to her gets burned. I just looked at him. Are you finished? Caleb, Lerner, I cut him off. Are you trying to cause problems between my wife and me? My relationship with Juliana is none of your business. I stood up. Excuse me. I walked out of the private dining room and saw Juliana at the end of the hall. She was on the phone, her back to me. Yes, I know. Don't worry about them. He won't. Relax. Everything is under control. She hung up, turned, and saw me. What's wrong? She asked. Needed some air, I said. It's stuffy in there. She walked toward me. What did that fat, old pig Lerner say to you? Nothing. Did he tell you I'm sick, possessive, and all my ex-boyfriends end up ruined? You heard him. I didn't have to, she scoffed. He asked me out a few years ago. I turned him down. It's a classic case of a bruised ego. I looked at her. In the dim light of the hallway, her face was half in shadow. So, I asked, is it true? Which part? The ex-boyfriend. The one who almost jumped. She was silent for a moment. It's true, she said. I dismantled his company. He couldn't handle it, so he went up to the roof. He didn't jump. She said it so calmly, like she was discussing the weather. A chill went down my spine. Why? He used me, she said, her eyes meeting mine. He got close to me to get access to Thorn family resources. And he was cheating on me. So I took everything from him, she smiled faintly. It's how I operate. Caleb, if you want out, now's your chance to regret it. I stared at her. She stared back, her gaze unwavering, almost challenging. Juliana, I said, you're a psychopath. Yes, she nodded. Is this new information? She reached out and straightened my tie, her touch surprisingly gentle. So don't lie to me, she said softly. And don't you dare betray me. Because if you do, what happened to him will look like a happy ending compared to what I'll do to you. Was a warning? Or something else? The ride back was silent. She leaned against the window, her eyes closed. I drove, her words replaying in my head. Don't lie to me. Don't betray me. It sounded like something a deranged, obsessive person would say. But somehow, I felt there was more to it. I parked in the garage under our building. She didn't move to get out right away. Caleb, yeah, are you afraid of me? I turned to look at her. Her face was a pale silhouette in the dark. A little, I said honestly. A small smile touched her lips. Good. You should be. She got out of the car. I followed her inside, watching the way her hair moved as she walked. Her back looked so thin, so solitary. For a crazy moment, I thought. She looks lonely. I had to be losing my mind. Juliana Thorne. Lonely? Inside, she kicked off her heels and padded across the floor in her bare feet. I'm thirsty, she announced. I went to the kitchen, poured her a glass of water, and handed it to her. She took a sip, her eyes on me. Caleb, let's make a deal. What kind of deal? In public, we're the perfect, loving couple. But behind closed doors, she paused. We could be partners. Maybe even friends. Friends. The words sounded absurd. It's better than being enemies, she said, putting the glass down. I don't want us to get to a point where we can't even stand to speak to each other. You think we could be friends? Want to try? She tilted her head. After all, we're going to be together for a long time. How long was a long time? I didn't ask. Okay, I said. She seemed to relax just a little. Well, good night. Good night. She turned and walked toward the bedroom. At the door, she stopped. Caleb, what now? Thank you for today. For what? For not letting Lerner humiliate me. And her voice got quieter, for not looking at me with disgust after what he said. I didn't say anything. She waited a moment, then disappeared into the room. I stood there for a long time, a strange feeling twisting in my gut. This woman, one minute she was a fortress of spikes, the next she was showing you her soft, vulnerable underbelly. She was impossible. 10 the days that followed were surprisingly peaceful. I went to the office with her every day and worked in the space next to hers. She gave me meaningless projects to keep me busy. We attended events together, playing the part of the happy couple. We were getting good at it. Sometimes, I'd almost forget it was all an act, that we were a normal couple, except for the invisible line down the middle of the bed at night. Neither of us ever crossed it. One afternoon, I had a headache and left the office early. She wasn't back yet. The apartment was empty and silent. I poured a glass of water and sat on the couch. My phone buzzed. It was my assistant, asking where a file was. I told her to email it to me. I opened my laptop and logged in my email. My inbox was full of unread messages. At the very top was one from Juliana. The subject line read, "Follow-up strategies for Royce Innovations." My hand froze over the trackpad. Royce, follow-up strategies. What the hell did that mean? Acting on an impulse I couldn't explain, I clicked on the email. It contained a single compressed file, password protected. I tried a few of her usual passwords. None of them worked. A deep sense of unease settled over me. What was she planning for Royce? I thought she had already bailed us out. What follow-up was needed? I stared at the encrypted file, a dozen paranoid thoughts racing through my head. Finally, I picked up my phone and called a friend who worked in cybersecurity. I need you to crack a zip file for me. Yeah, now. I just sent it. The wait was agonizing. 10 minutes later, my friend called back. Caleb, man, this thing is locked down tight. It'll take a while to get through the encryption, but I was able to see the uncompressed folder name. It's called bankruptcy. Bankruptcy? My stomach dropped. What's in it? No idea. It's all encrypted. But what? While I was running the initial probe, I could see a directory structure inside. It's full of subfolders, and they're all named with dates. Dates? Can you tell what dates? They're recent. They start next week, and they're scheduled out for a full year. Starting next week for a full year. A new folder every week. And what was inside each folder? A plan. A bankruptcy plan. For who? The answer was screamingly obvious. Royce. Or me. I hung up and stared at the encrypted file on my screen. It felt like a ticking time bomb. Juliana. What in God's name are you doing? 11. She came home late that night. I was sitting on the couch in the living room in the dark. She opened the door, flipped on the entryway light, and stopped when she saw me. Why are you sitting in the dark? Waiting for you. She set her purse down and took off her jacket. Is something wrong? Yeah. I looked at her. We need to talk. She came over and sat on the couch across from me. About what? About Royce Innovations, I said. About your follow-up strategy. The composure on her face cracked. You went on my computer. You sent it to my email. I corrected her. I accidentally clicked on it. It was password protected. She stared at me, her eyes sharp as glass. Accidentally? What else would you call it? I shot back. You think I'm actively spying on you? She didn't answer. She stood up, walked to the bar, and poured a drink. Her back was to me. Juliana, I pressed. What is the bankruptcy plan? She took a sip of her drink and turned around. Take a guess. Is it for Royce? Not entirely. Then who is it for? You. The air in the room seemed to turn to ice. Even though I had suspected it, hearing her say it out loud felt like a punch to the gut. What? I asked. I thought we had a deal. We got married? She finished for me with a dry laugh. Caleb, you didn't really think a marriage license would be enough to make me spare your family, did you? To make me spare you? Then why the hell did you marry me? Because this is more fun, she said, walking toward me. She leaned over, planting her hands on the couch on either side of me, trapping me. To have you right here by my side, to watch you lose everything piece by piece, until the only thing you have left is me. She was too close. I could smell the liquor on her breath. Her eyes were wild, manic, but held a strange, magnetic pull. Only when you have nothing, she whispered, her fingers tracing my jawline. Will you finally have eyes only for me? I grabbed her wrist. You really are insane. I've told you that many times, she smiled. Yes. What? I demanded. What did I ever do to you? Nothing, she said, her gaze deep and intense. You were just brilliant. So brilliant that I wanted to lock you away, where no one else could see you but me. What kind of twisted reason was that? Just for that. Is that not enough? She leaned closer, her nose almost touching mine. Caleb, you have no idea how captivating you are. Her lips were an inch from mine. I could feel her warm, alcohol-scented breath. So, my throat was dry when you destroyed the companies of those other CEOs who hit on you. Was it because of this? They touched something that didn't belong to them. Her eyes went cold. I'm not a thing. You're mine, she stated, her voice iron. I don't belong to anyone. You do, she repeated stubbornly. Mine. And then she kissed me. It was a kiss born of a desperate, destructive madness. And just beneath it all, a tremor of fear. Well, it wasn't a kiss. It was a battle. She bit my lip hard. I tangled my hand in her hair, pulling her closer, taking control. The taste of whiskey was on our tongues. I couldn't tell if it was hers or mine. We didn't break apart until we were both breathless. Her lips were swollen and red, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Caleb, she gasped, you're finished. Am I? You kissed me back, she said, touching her own lips and coming away with a smear of blood. You feel something for me. I'm a healthy, heterosexual man. Is that all it is? What else would it be? She stared at me, then suddenly laughed. You're lying. She straightened up, smoothing her wrinkled clothes. That bankruptcy plan, she said, turning and walking toward the bedroom. It was a test. A test. If you hadn't found it, or if you'd found it and been too afraid to confront me, she paused at the door, her silhouette framed by the light from the hall, I would have been very disappointed. And then what? Then, the fake plan would have become a real one. And now, a slow, wicked smile spread across her lips. I've changed my mind. To what? That's a secret. She closed the door, leaving me alone in the living room. I sank back against the couch and touched my stinging lip. This woman, she was playing me like a fiddle. But for some reason, I wasn't angry. I was thrilled. I must be going insane, too. The next morning, I found her at the dining table. She was in her pajamas, hair tied up messily, eating a piece of toast. She acted as if nothing had happened. Morning, she said. Morning. I sat down and poured myself a coffee. The atmosphere was thick with a strange, unspoken tension. What's on your schedule today? I asked, breaking the silence. Meetings this morning, client visit this afternoon. She took a sip of milk. There's a charity gala tonight. You might date. Right. Silence. The only sound was the clinking of silverware. Caleb. Yeah. About last night, she said, staring into her glass. Forget it. Forget which part? I asked deliberately. The part where you kissed me, or the part where you threatened to bankrupt me? She shot me a glare. Both. Can't, I said. It made a lasting impression. You, Juliana. I put down my coffee cup. You play with fire. You're gonna get burned. Is that a threat? She arched an eyebrow. Let's find out who burns first. There was again that combative energy. But this time, it felt different. Charged with something else. That bankruptcy plan? I asked. Was it really just a test? What do you think? She wiped her mouth with a napkin. If I really wanted to destroy you, I wouldn't need to be so theatrical. That was true. Her methods were usually much more direct. Why test me? I wanted to know. She stood up, walked over to me, and leaned in a whisper in my ear, if the husband I chose was a coward or a fighter. And the verdict? You have more guts, she chuckled softly, than I expected. She straightened up and clapped me on the shoulder. Keep it up, Mr. Royce. Watching her walk away, I touched my ear. Damn it, it was red again. The charity gala was in a grand hotel ballroom. A sea of tuxedos and evening gowns, the air thick with perfume and fake smiles. Juliana and I walked arm in arm and immediately became the center of attention. Miss Thorne, Mr. Royce, right this way. The host eagerly showed us to our table, where we were seated with a few familiar faces from the New York business scene. More small talk, more empty compliments. I was going through the motions, but my mind was elsewhere. I couldn't stop looking at Juliana. She was wearing a royal blue gown that made her skin look like porcelain. Her hair was up, showing off the elegant line of her neck. She was beautiful, a dangerous, predatory kind of beautiful. You and Miss Thorne seemed so in love. A woman at our table cooed. You haven't let go of her hand all night. I looked down and realized I was still holding Juliana's hand. It had been completely unconscious. Her fingers twitched in mine, but she didn't pull away. We're very happy, Juliana said with a dazzling smile. A world-class performance. The auction began. Juliana bid a few times, winning a pair of diamond earrings and necklace. Our next item was donated by Mr. Caleb Royce himself, his personal wristwatch. I froze. I hadn't donated anything. I looked at Juliana. She gave me a tiny wink. I donated it for you, she whispered. We have to sell the image. The generous, philanthropic power couple. Right? I was actually fond of that watch. I'd had it for years. Bidding will start at $10,000. Someone raised their paddle. 15,000. 20. The price climbed steadily. 50,000, Juliana suddenly said, raising her paddle. The room went quiet for a beat. Bidding on your own donation? Miss Thorne, the auctioneer stammered. I like the watch, Juliana said, her expression perfectly composed. Is there a problem? No, of course not. 50,000 going once, 50,000 going twice. 100,000. A voice called out from a corner of the room. Everyone turned. It was a young guy, vaguely familiar. Then I remembered. Chadwick Zhao Jr., the son of a rival tech mogul. He tried to date Juliana last year, and his father's company had mysteriously lost a major contract to Thorne Industries shortly after. He was here to cause trouble. Juliana's face didn't change. 200,000. 300, Zhao shot back. 500,000. 1 million. A collective gasp went through the ballroom. $1 million for a used watch. This was insane. Juliana started to raise her paddle again, but I put my hand on her arm. That's enough. Don't stop me. Her eyes were cold fire. He's doing this on purpose. I know, I said. It's not worth it. It is. She shook my hand off. No one takes what's mine. She raised her paddle. 2 million. Zhao's face paled. He didn't respond. 2 million going once, twice, 3 times sold. The gavel fell. Juliana stood up and went to the back to finalize the purchase. I watched her go, a storm of emotions churning inside me. What's mine? She'd said I was hers, too. In the car on the way home, she stared out the window, clutching the watch in her hand. Juliana, I said. She didn't turn. You didn't have to spend that money. I wanted to. Getting into a pissing contest with a spoiled brat like Zhao isn't worth it. It wasn't about him. She turned to face me. It was about making it clear that you belong to me, and you're not to be touched. Just for that. What else? I looked at her, at the stubborn, fierce light in her eyes. Juliana, I said quietly, if you keep acting like this, I'm going to get the wrong idea. What idea is that? That you actually care about me. She was silent for a long moment. Think whatever you want. She turned back to the window. I could have sworn the tips of her ears were red. I leaned back in my seat, my thoughts in a tangle. 1 minute she's planning my financial ruin. The next she's dropping $2 million to defend my honor. Which one was the real her? Or were they both? The car pulled into the garage. She got out first, not waiting for me. I followed her into the elevator. The silence in the small, enclosed space was deafening. Give me your hand, she said. Why? I'm putting it back where it belongs. She held up the watch. She took my hand and began fastening the watch around my wrist. Her movements were gentle, her fingertips cool against my skin. Juliana, I said, looking at the top of her head. Thank you. She didn't look up. For what? For protecting me. She clipped the clasp shut and let go. Don't mention it, she said, her eyes on the floor numbers. You're my husband. I'm supposed to protect you. Is that the only reason? The elevator doors opened. She walked out. What other reason could there be? I followed her into the hallway. Maybe, I said, you're starting to like me. She stopped dead in her tracks. She turned and looked at me. Caleb, don't flatter yourself. Really? I took a step closer. Then why did you kiss me? A momentary lapse in judgment. Why were you so afraid someone would take that watch from me? I'm possessive. Why? I was right in front of her now. Can't you look me in the eye? Her head snapped up. Who says I can't? We stared at each other. The hallway lights were dim, but her eyes were blazing. Caleb, her voice was hoarse. You play with fire, you get burned. You said that this morning, and you're still provoking me. Let's find out, I said, echoing her own words, who burns first? She stared at me for another second, and then a slow, dangerous smile spread across her face. Fine. She grabbed my tie and pulled me into the bedroom. Tonight, she said, kicking the door shut and locking it. Whoever chickens out first loses. Are you sure about that? Shut up. She shoved me toward the bed and started fumbling with the zipper on her dress. Her movements were rushed, clumsy. I watched her fingers, which were trembling slightly. Need some help? I asked. No. The zipper finally gave way, and the dress pooled at her feet. You can get started on your own clothes. I started unbuttoning my shirt, but my eyes never left her. She was wearing black lace lingerie that made her pale skin seem to glow. She was even more stunning than I had imagined. Are you done staring? She asked, an eyebrow raised. Not even close, I said honestly. She scoffed, walked right up to me, and unbuckled my belt. Fair is fair, she said. I get to stare too. The buckle clicked open. Her fingers brushed against my stomach, and my muscles instantly clenched. Nervous, she looked up at me, her eyes dancing with amusement. What do you think? I figured you'd be a pro at this. Not with your particular brand of crazy. My brand. Psychopath. She laughed and stood on her toes to kiss me. This time it was softer. Not a battle, but an exploration. As our lips met, I wrapped my arms around her waist, pulling her flush against me. She was so much thinner than she looked, so delicate. Caleb, she murmured against my mouth. Yeah. Turn off the lights. No. Why not? I want to see you. Her ears turned bright red. Pervert. Takes one to know one. I pushed her gently onto the bed and leaned over her. Her hair was fanned out on the pillow, her eyes hazy, her lips wet and swollen. She was a work of art, the kind that made you want to both destroy it and protect it with your life. Juliana, I whispered, last chance to call this off. She looked up at me and suddenly smiled. What's wrong, Caleb? Can't perform. A cheap shot. Juvenile but effective. You're about to find out. I lowered my head and kissed her, all restraint gone. I woke up when it was still dark. The curtains were cracked, letting in a sliver of pre-dawn light. Juliana was asleep next to me, her back to me, her breathing even. Memories of the night came rushing back, fragmented but intensely vivid. The way she cried, the way she begged, the way she finally curled up in my arms and fell asleep. A completely different person from the one the world knew. I reached out, wanted to touch her hair, but pulled my hand back. I didn't want to wake her, and I was afraid of how we would face each other in the morning. This was not part of the plan, but maybe it wasn't so bad. I slipped out of bed, grabbing my clothes from the floor. I closed the bedroom door softly behind me and sat on the couch in the living room. I lit a cigarette, but didn't smoke it, just watched the smoke curl into the air. My head was a mess. Was the bankruptcy plan real? Were her feelings for me real? What about my feelings? Was this just revenge, or was it something else? Give me one. The voice came from behind me. I turned. Juliana was leaning against the bedroom doorframe, wearing my dress shirt. It was huge on her, the hem falling to her mid-thighs, her long legs bare. When did you wake up? I asked. The second you got out of bed. She walked over and sat down beside me. Pretending to be asleep is exhausting. I handed her the pack of cigarettes. She took one, and I lit it for her. She looked awkward, inexperienced, like she'd never smoked before. First time? I asked. Second, she said. First time I was 16. I stole one from my dad. Bad girl. You just figuring that out now? We sat there side by side, smoking in the growing dawn. We felt like a couple of teenagers who had snuck out. Caleb, yeah, about last night. You want me to forget it? No. She exhaled a cloud of smoke. I want you to remember it. Clearly, I turned to look at her. Her profile was soft in a smoky light. Why? Because she paused. That was real. My heart skipped a beat. What was real? Me. She looked at me. The person I was in that moment. That was the real me. And the rest of the time? The rest of the time, she gave a wry smile, is half truth, half performance. What kind of an answer was that? Juliana, I stubbed out my cigarette. Can we just be honest with each other for once? How honest? She put hers out, too. You want me to tell you that I've been pathologically obsessive since I was a child? That I have to possess anything I want? That I've spent years collecting every piece of information I could find on you? I stared at her, stunned. You've been researching me. Of course, she laughed. Did you really think Thorne Industries needed to merge with Royce? Then why? Because I wanted to, she said, her eyes locked on mine. Ever since that bid presentation 3 years ago, I've wanted this. Wanted what? You. She traced a finger over my Adam's apple. I wanted to see what it would look like when a man as proud as he was brought to his knees by me. And then I discovered, she pulled her hand away, that you were much more difficult than I anticipated, so you switched to a softer approach. No, she shook her head. I started to fall for my own act. The room was silent, save for the sound of birds waking up outside. Fall for my own act. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. When did it start? I asked. I don't know. She hugged her knees to her chest, resting her chin on them. Maybe it was when I saw your hand shake as you signed the contract. Maybe it was when you stood there, soaked in champagne, trying so hard to keep your composure. Maybe it was every time you called me a psychopath, but still went along with my crazy demands. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Caleb, I think I messed up my own game. I looked at her, curled up and small, and something inside me softened. So, I asked that bankruptcy plan. It's fake, she said quickly. I deleted it a long time ago. When? You asked too many questions, she scowled. Answer me. She was quiet for a moment. That time you took a drink for me. I remembered. It was at a cocktail party last month. Some guy was trying to get her drunk, and I stepped in. That's all it took. It was the first time, she said softly, anyone had ever protected me. She said it so matter-of-factly, but I heard the lifetime of pain behind it. The great Juliana Thorne, head of a corporate empire. It sounded glamorous, but the reality was probably lonelier than any of us could imagine. Juliana, I said. Yeah. Come here. She hesitated, then scooted closer. I wrapped an arm around her shoulders and pulled her into my arms. Her body was stiff at first, then slowly relaxed into mine. What are you doing? She asked, her voice muffled against my chest. I don't know, I said. I just wanted to hold you. Are you pitying me? No. Then what is it? Maybe. I paused. I fell for my own act, too. I felt a slight tremor run through her body. She didn't speak. After a long moment, I felt a damp spot spreading on my shirt. She was crying, silently. I tilted my head down to look at her, but she buried her face deeper into my chest. Don't look at me. Okay. I just held her, gently rubbing her back like you were a small child. This corporate shark, this ruthless viper, was as fragile as glass. Caleb. Yeah. If I try to tone down the possessiveness. Her voice was thick with tears. Could you try to like me? She sounded so small, so unsure of herself. It wasn't her at all. My heart ached for her. Don't change, I said. What? I like you just the way you are. I held her tighter. If you're a psycho, you're my psycho. I can handle it. She looked up, her eyes red and puffy. Really? Yeah. You won't regret it? If I do, I'll bark like a dog. A small laugh escaped her, mingled with a sob. You already are one, after last night. I covered her mouth with my hand. Let's not get into the sordid details. After that day, our relationship shifted. It was no longer an act, no longer a game. It was something real, something fragile and new. She was still intense, but now she would let me see her vulnerabilities. I still argued with her, but now there was a fondness beneath the banter. We commuted to work together, went home together. Sometimes she'd work late, and I'd wait for her in her office. I'd watch her as she focused on her work, her brow furrowed, her fingers flying across the keyboard. I would sit on the couch and read, or get some of my own work done. We didn't need to talk, Being in the same room was enough. "Caleb," she said one night, looking up from a stack of reports. "Yeah, my birthday is next week." "I know. I'd had it marked on my calendar for a month." "What are you getting me? What do you want?" She thought for a moment. "You could sign over your remaining Royce shares to me." "Pick something else." "Cheapskate," she pouted. "Fine. Just take me to dinner." "Just dinner?" "Yeah, just the two of us." "Deal." She went back to her work, but I saw the small smile playing on her lips. She looked like a kid who'd just been promised candy. I watched her, and my heart felt full. Maybe this could actually work. For her birthday, I managed to get a reservation at one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city. A rooftop spot with a panoramic view of the Manhattan skyline. She wore a red dress. She was breathtaking. "Happy birthday," I said, handing her a gift. "What is it?" Her eyes sparkled. "Open it." Inside was a necklace with a single diamond pendant, the letter J. "Did you have this made?" she asked. "I did." I fastened it around her neck. "Do you like it?" She touched the pendant, a genuine smile on her face. "I love it." Over dinner, we talked. About work, about movies, about stupid things we did as kids. It was easy, normal, like any other couple. "Caleb," she asked suddenly, "if we hadn't been forced into this marriage, do you think we ever would have gotten together?" I thought about it. "No." Her expression fell. "Because," I added, "there is no if." She smiled and kicked me gently under the table. "You're getting smooth." After dinner, the waiter brought out a cake. She made a wish and blew out the candles. "What did you wish for?" I asked. "If I tell you, it won't come true." "Was it about me?" "Guess." I was pretty sure it was. As we were finishing the cake, she said, "Caleb, let's have a wedding." I froze. We were legally married, but we'd skipped the ceremony to avoid the hassle. "Why the sudden interest?" "I want the whole world to know," she said, handing me a slice of cake, "that you belong to me." There she was, the same old possessive Juliana. But this time I didn't mind. "Okay," I said. "Let's do it." Her eyes curved into crescents. On the way home, she hummed to herself, in the best mood I'd ever seen her in. At a red light, I turned to look at her. Her face, illuminated by the passing streetlights, looked softer than I'd ever seen it. "Juliana," I said, "I love you." Her head whipped around, her eyes wide with shock, as if she'd heard something impossible. "What? What did you say?" "You heard me." "I did." She grabbed my arm. "Say it again." The light turned green. I started driving. "I don't repeat myself." She stared at me for a long moment, then leaned over and kissed my cheek. "I love you too," she whispered, then quickly sat back, pretending to look out the window. Her ears were glowing red. I gripped the steering wheel, a massive, uncontrollable grin spreading across my face. It was all worth it. Wedding planning went into full swing. Juliana was a force of nature, scouting venues, designing dresses, curating the guest list. I was her happy co-pilot. Seeing her this happy made me happy. One afternoon, I went to her office to discuss invitation designs. The room was empty, but her computer was on, the screen glowing. I wasn't going to look, but a familiar folder name caught my eye. Bankruptcy. My blood ran cold. She hadn't deleted it? Why was it still there? An ugly, familiar suspicion coiled in my stomach. I walked over to the desk. The folder was password protected, but the security question had changed. "What do you find most attractive about him?" I hesitated, then typed pride. Incorrect. I tried again, kindness. Incorrect. Everything. Still wrong. After a few more failed attempts, I typed one last word. Honesty. Click. The folder unlocked. My heart pounded as I opened it. It was full of subfolders, organized by date, just like my friend had described. But the most recent folder was titled Wedding. I opened it. It wasn't a bankruptcy plan. It was a wedding plan. Venue details, catering menus, playlists, even sketches for my tuxedo. Every single detail was meticulously planned out. At the bottom of the folder was a single document, a letter to him. I opened it. "Caleb, if you're reading this, it means you still don't trust me. I admit, keeping this folder name is a bit of a sick joke. But what's inside now is our future. The journey from wanting to bankrupt you to wanting to build a home with you has been unexpected. I'm looking forward to the rest of our lives. Yours, your psycho." I stared at the screen, speechless. "Find what you were looking for." I turned. Juliana was leaning against the doorframe, a playful smile on her face. Don't bother explaining," she said, walking over. I left it open on purpose. Why? I wanted to see what you would do. She wrapped her arms around my neck. So are you satisfied with what you found? I pulled her into a hug. More than satisfied. Do you still doubt me? Never again. She kissed me. Good. I held her even tighter. Juliana. Yeah, thank you. For what? For coming after me. She froze for a second, then laughed, burying her face in my chest. You're welcome. The wedding was like a dream. When she walked down the aisle toward me, I felt like the luckiest man on earth. She was impossibly, ethereally beautiful. When we exchanged rings, her hand was shaking. Mine wasn't much better. I almost dropped the ring. You may now kiss the bride. I lifted her veil. Her eyes were shining with tears. Caleb, she whispered. I'm a little nervous. Me too. I leaned down and kissed her. It was a soft, gentle kiss, but it held all the love I had in me. The crowd applauded. In the middle of the kiss, she whispered, I love you. I love you too. After the ceremony, we took photos on the beach as the sun went down, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange. She leaned her head on my shoulder, smiling for the camera. Caleb, she said suddenly, I'm giving you the Royce shares back. Why? They were always yours, she said. Besides, I don't need them to keep you anymore. How can you be so sure? Because, she turned to face me. You're already here by choice, aren't you? I looked at her face, glowing in the sunset, and nodded. I am. So, I'm giving them back. You don't have to, I said. Consider it my dowry. She laughed. Then what's my bride price? Am I not enough? You'll do. She leaned back against my chest, and we watched the sun dip below the horizon. The sound of the waves, the cry of the gulls. I held her close, feeling completely, perfectly whole. This woman who I once hated, this woman who I now loved with everything I had. This psycho who threatened to ruin me, but gave me a home instead. She was mine. Forever.